What's up, guys? This is Justin Alfiero here with Run the Gauntlet's Fantasy Football Podcast, here to do a quick short just to help you out going into your drafts. Of course, as per usual, we are working in partnership with the Game Changer Sports Network. Unapologetic, honest sports coverage about sports and sports only. None of the drama in between. That is just the way I like it. But of course, today, this isn't about all sports. This is simply about fantasy football. So, guys, are you anything like me? When you're drafting, do you want to make sure you have backs? You want to get late-round values at wide receiver? Well, I'm here to shed some light on what I think might be some very good late-round value at wide receiver. But there's going to be a bit of a discussion to go with because it's not as simple as naming a player. It's trying to figure out a situation. And also, anyone who drafted Royce Freeman or wanted to draft Royce Freeman, hearing that Devonte Booker was listed as number 1 on the depth chart was probably very alarming to you, as it was to me, but fear not, as later on in the show we will discuss as to why this isn't as big of a deal as it seems. Okay, so let's start right off the bat. Guys, Tom Brady's a really good quarterback, and the only receiver right now that we know that's going to have any role on that team in the wake of Julian Edelman's suspension for PEDs is Chris Hogan. But they have a few other guys on that roster, guys, and quite frankly, I'm not sure if you've kept up with it, but if you have, you would know that's a carousel, and it's been really hard to keep up with. So I'm going to start off with just kind of highlighting the offseason stuff that happened at the Patriots wide receiver slot, and then working into who they have on the roster now. So Julian Edelman was suspended 4 games for using performance-enhancing drugs. Doesn't look like the type of guy to use them, but hey, coming off an injury, you never know. Well, apparently you do because he got busted. So they had drafted Braxton Berrios, who's now on the IR. That stinks. He was very similar to a Danny Amendola, Julian Edelman-type receiver. They signed Eric Decker. They signed Jordan Matthews. Then Eric Decker retired, and they released Kenny Britt, who they signed last year, Malcolm Mitchell, and released Jordan Matthews, who they had signed earlier in the offseason. On top of this, they traded Brandon Cooks to the Rams, and then traded for Cordell Patterson from the Oakland Raiders. So who's left on the roster? Well, after a month, you have Julian Edelman, but if not him, you have Chris Hogan, Philip Dorsett, Cordell Patterson, Braxton Berrios, Matthew Slater's been a special teams fixture on this team for a very long time, and a bunch of guys I have not heard of after that, but I think those are the guys that are really important here, except Braxton Berrios was on IR, but when I made this list, he was not yesterday. My favorite to benefit, everyone's favorite to benefit in the wake of the Julian Edelman absence is Chris Hogan. Last year, in 9 games played, he had 59 targets, 34 receptions, 439 yards, and 5 touchdowns, averaged 12.9 yards per catch. The year before that, in 2016, he averaged 17.9 yards per catch, so maybe that goes up a little bit. Obviously, we like Chris Hogan. But Tom Brady's so good that there's no way it's only one receiver that's going to work over there. And there has to be another, at least in that month, that Julian Edelman isn't on the team. So you can look at whatever names on the roster you want, but for me, this particularly boils down to 2 guys, and it is Cordell Patterson versus Philip Dorsett. As a Colts fan, I would really hope that Philip Dorsett does not work out too well for the Patriots, as he was drafted in the first round by us a few years ago, and I was really not happy about it, but hey. More power to the Patriots for getting 2 first-rounders, as Cordell Patterson was a former first-round pick for the Vikings as well. Never quite worked out, but is an excellent return man, 2-time All-Pro at that. So as far as what's going on this preseason, in Week 3, Philip Dorsett had 4 receptions for 36 yards, all from Tom Brady, which is worth noting, as Philip Dorsett did play with Tom Brady last year, and in fact, if you were watching like me and owned Brandon Cooks, you'd realize that sometimes you couldn't even tell the difference between Philip Dorsett and Brandon Cooks, and there's plenty of times where Dorsett would get a 40-yard catch, and I thought it was Brandon Cooks, so I would jump up and celebrate, and then I'd be like, hey, wait a second, that's that idiot that the Colts got rid of. Cordell Patterson has put himself on the map this preseason, guys, and has a real chance in New England, I think. 27 years of age, 6'2", 220 pounds, a do-it-all type of receiver, has had issues with drop passes throughout his career, but in 2017, he had 31 receptions on 42 targets, 309 yards on those 31 receptions. That's a 73.8% catch rate, and that is higher than anyone on the Oakland Raiders last year, who we know obviously had a tremendous group of receivers in Amari Cooper and Michael Crabtree. But even more importantly, that's higher than anyone on the New England roster right now, by a lot, may I add. Last year, no one on the roster averaged 66% or higher on their catch rate. Julian Edelman in 2016 averaged less than Cordell Patterson last year as well. Cordell Patterson last year also played running back, getting 13 carries for 121 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's 9.3 yards per carry, guys. That's pretty cool. Why I like Cordell Patterson over Philip Dorsett and think he has a really good chance to be a real good late-round pick is that, essentially, as Tom Brady's career goes on, the the Patriots rely more on the run game and more on the play-action short passing game year after year after year after year. And in that, I really like Cordell Patterson because in the screen game, he's amazing. We've already seen them showcase some of that in the preseason. And on top of that, he has lightning speed. And once upon a time was going to be the next big thing in the NFL. I believe it was 2014 that Cordell Patterson was drafted out of Tennessee. Was a really, really big deal, guys. And I thought he was going to be a serious contributor for the Vikings for years. And Bill Belichick's done a great job of this over his career, just getting former first-round picks. Obviously, Philip Dorsett is one as well, which I've already mentioned. But, guys, I think Cordell Patterson has a really, really, really good chance to even take Chris Hogan's job. Call me crazy, coming out of this 4-week stretch. But I do think that he will be starting on the outside. Although he was working behind Philip Dorsett in the preseason, I do think that Tom Brady's going to love him in the screen game, and he's going to love his size going up and down the field. So, guys, just target Cordell Patterson late in your drafts. You really have nothing to lose. In the last pick of your draft, Cordell Patterson's a big play guy. Who knows, man? Bill Belichick's the type of guy where you have one big play, and he loves you. He's also the type of guy where if you have one bad play, you're in his doghouse, and it's like you never existed. So, Cordell Patterson, Philip Dorsett, two guys to target as Tom Brady's really good. I prefer Cordell Patterson. I would see why one would prefer Philip Dorsett, as we saw Brandon Cooks have some success in the New England system last year. Now, are you anything like me? Do you have Royce Freeman on your rosters? And did you see that Devonte Booker was listed as the RB1 on the depth chart? Do not bug out, guys, like I did. I went into full-fledged panic mode, but when head coach Vance Joseph was asked about this, he did hint that both backs had a chance at the job. And I quote, "It's not a focus of mine right now because it's going to take 3 guys, it's going to take 4 guys. Whoever's the lead back in the season to me is not my focus right now." He did also hint at a little bit more, saying, if we call a power play against Seattle on 1st and 10, it's probably going to be Royce Freeman. And if we go empty and throw a quick pass, it may be Booker. So who's the lead guy? It doesn't really matter, but obviously these 2 guys have been the lead backs for the entire spring and really the entire summer. So here's what I take from this, is that he definitely does not view Devonte Booker as a guy who has the potential to be the lead guy, because a lead guy is the guy that gets the carries. So he is already labeling Royce Freeman as that guy. Freeman has outperformed Booker unbelievably so, may I add, in the preseason. He's averaged about 2 yards more per carry than he has in the preseason, and he's had 3 touchdowns this preseason as well. I think that Royce Freeman's going to run away with this at some point. It just might take a little bit longer than people wanted it to. He really reminds me of a Jordan Howard type talent, very sturdy running back, very strong running back. And he's going to take their goal line work too, guys. So if he gets pass blocking work, I think eventually he'll take that 3rd down work and be the workhorse. Just hold him on your bench, guys. Don't panic. Royce Freeman is good. So that should be just about everything for today, guys. This will be the last episode we have in regards to giving you some quick advice on the draft and stuff like that. Everything after this is going to be real-time football, regular season football, stats, starts, sits. So we are super excited. I have drafts coming up. I have 2 drafts coming up as I'm a college student. I'm only in 3 leagues. But I do have a draft on Tuesday night. Can't wait for the food. The draft should be fun. But man, they always have White Castle burgers over at that draft, so I can't wait for that. Wednesday night is my league in which I commish. That is going to be super fun as well, guys. This is the best week of the year, guys. Don't miss out. Do some drafts and be prepared, guys, because you're not getting this time back. So, that should be everything. This is Justin Alfiero. This is Run the Gauntlet's Fantasy Football Podcast. We work in partnership with the Game Changer Sports Network. Those guys are so cool. What a website they have and what an opportunity they have given us to work with them to get more people like you to listen to us. So guys, thank you very much. Continue to listen to Run the Gauntlet. Like us on Facebook at Run the Gauntlet. Like the Game Changer Sports Network on Facebook. The Game Changer Sports Network on YouTube, in which you will be able to get full episodes of our podcast, and on SoundCloud as well. Guys, myself and Jimmy know how important your time is, and we could not be more grateful that you take time to spend with us and listen to us talk about fantasy football. Guys, thank you so much. Enjoy your drafts. Have a good one.